The sun on the desert planet burned hot, but Cole didn't feel it anymore. He had been trading supplies for years across these outer colonies. Today, he stood near his dusty transport ship in the middle of a broken marketplace. Alien vendors shouted strange words, trying to sell meat, metal, or stolen tech. But Cole was here for one thing: payment. A green-skinned merchant approached him, dragging something behind. It was a girl, covered in dirt, her arms chained, her long silver hair hanging over her face. Cole raised an eyebrow. "I asked for fuel or credits, not a person." The alien merchant looked desperate. "Please, human, I have nothing else to offer." Cole frowned. "I don't deal in slaves." The merchant leaned closer, voice shaking. "She's quiet, clean, and won't cause trouble. Take her, and I'll owe you more later." The girl didn't speak, didn't cry, didn't resist. She just stood there, still and calm, like she didn't even care what was happening. Her eyes, strange golden eyes, glanced up once and looked right into Cole's. Something in that stare made him feel cold, like she knew a secret he didn't. Cole sighed and rubbed his forehead. "Fine, but if this causes problems, it's on you." He unlocked the back of his ship and guided the girl inside. She walked without fear, almost like she had done this before. Cole closed the door behind them, engine starting to hum. "Sit there," he said, pointing to a bench. "Don't touch anything." She sat silently, her eyes watching everything, but never blinking too much. Cole flew the ship away from the market, heading back to his small desert base. Inside the base, the girl explored the room with her eyes, not her feet. She didn't beg for food, didn't ask for water. Cole tossed a dry ration bar toward her. "Eat if you're hungry." She picked it up slowly and sniffed it, then placed it in her lap. Without eating, he noticed how her hands moved graceful, trained, not rough like a worker or slave. Still, she said nothing. That night, Cole stayed awake longer than usual. Something about the girl was wrong or strange. She wasn't scared, not even nervous. Most slaves he'd seen before were broken, loud, or begging. But this one sat quietly, legs crossed, staring through the window at the stars, like she was waiting for someone to arrive. Cole watched her from the other side of the room. She whispered something under her breath, too soft to understand. Then she placed her hand on the cold glass and kept whispering. The lights in the room flickered once, just for a second. He sat up straight. What the hell was that? She turned her head slowly toward him, her golden eyes glowing slightly in the dark. Cole froze. "Did you do that?" She didn't answer, just turned back to the window. He got up and checked the ship systems. Everything looked fine. Maybe it was just power fluctuation, or maybe not. The next morning, Cole tried talking to her again. "What's your name?" he asked while preparing a simple breakfast. No reply. He walked closer, placed the food near her, and spoke again. "Look, I'm not going to hurt you, all right?" Still silence, but when he turned his back, he heard her voice, soft as air. "Why did you accept me?" He turned around fast, surprised. "What?" She looked up at him calmly. "You were not meant to take me." Cole narrowed his eyes. "Then who was?" She didn't answer, only looked down at her plate and took a small bite of food. He could feel it now. Something deep was going on. Something bigger than just trade. This girl wasn't ordinary, and she wasn't a slave, not truly. She was placed in his hands for a reason, and that reason was about to change everything. Outside, a drone zipped quietly across the sky, watching, listening. And the girl's golden eyes looked toward it before anyone else could hear the sound. She was not afraid. She was preparing. The desert nights were cold, but inside the base, it was quiet and still. Cole sat by his desk, pretending to work, but his eyes kept drifting toward the girl. She hadn't said another word since that whisper last night. She now sat in the corner of the room, knees pulled to her chest, golden eyes half closed, not sleeping, not awake, just thinking. Cole felt uncomfortable. This was supposed to be simple, but everything about her screamed not simple. She moved like a noble, never made noise, and never asked for anything, even the way she picked up the food gently, like she had Once been served on golden plates, that morning, Cole decided to test her. He left a cum device on the table, a rare one with encrypted frequencies. Most slaves would have tried to steal or use it, but she only glanced at it and walked past, like it didn't exist. Next, he dropped a stun pistol on purpose, near her feet. She bent down, picked it up with 2 fingers, and handed it to him without blinking. "Be careful," she whispered. "It's set to level 3. Cole stared at her, stunned. No comment. Slave would know that. Even some officers didn't recognize settings by sight. He asked slowly, "Where did you learn that?" She looked away. "I was taught many things." Before what? He wanted to ask, but her voice was filled with something old like sadness mixed with pride. He didn't push later while he cleaned his storage unit. He found something strange, a cloth hidden under the girl's rags. It wasn't normal fabric, it was royal threaded silk from the Vareya systems. Rare, expensive, and known to be used only by nobles. The pattern was faint, almost worn out, but he could still make out a symbol, a twin sun crest, circled with ancient lines. Cole stared at it, heart thumping. This was a house sigil, a royal house. But how could a slave girl wear something like this? That night, he laid the cloth in front of her silently. She looked at it, then slowly reached out and touched it. "I thought I lost it," she said softly. Cole's voice was low. "You didn't lose it. Someone tried to hide it." She nodded, then said something unexpected. "They burned my home and said I was dead." Cole stepped back, his eyes searching her face. "Who are you?" he asked again, not expecting a full answer. She looked up at him, not afraid, not broken, but calm, proud, and still. "I am Vareya," she said slowly. "Daughter of the Veltharoon line." She paused, then added with a trembling voice, "Princess of a fallen throne." The words hit him like a shockwave. A princess? In chains? In his base? He had been dragging her around like cargo, and now he realized she had more power in her blood than he could ever understand. "Why didn't you tell me?" he whispered. She looked away. "Because everyone who helps me dies." Cole sat down, trying to breathe. This wasn't just some unlucky trade anymore. He had accepted a living symbol of rebellion, one that the entire galaxy might be hunting if her enemies found her here. He was as good as dead. Suddenly, the cum panel blinked. Motion sensor triggered, an unknown craft hovering outside the base. Cole rushed to the screen, cursing. He turned to Vareya. "Did you contact someone?" She shook her head, eyes wide. "No." But they may have followed the pendant. The pendant, he had seen her hold it once, touching her neck when she thought no one was watching. He didn't know it was active. Cole grabbed his jacket and threw her a cloak. "We need to leave now." She didn't argue, just nodded, slipping into the cloak like she had worn royal garments all her life. They exited through the back tunnel as the strange craft landed near the front gate. Cole held his breath as he guided her into the rocks. Beyond the canyon behind them, the base doors exploded open. They didn't stop running. And as they climbed up a ridge, Vareya whispered again, "They'll never stop hunting me." Cole looked at her, chest heaving. "Then I'll have to learn how to run better." The sky above the canyon was dark, filled with stars that watched like silent judges. Cole and Vareya sat by a small fire hidden inside a broken cave, their breath steaming in the cold night. She held her knees close, her cloak wrapped tight around her shoulders. Cole couldn't stop staring, not because she was beautiful, but because of who she really was. A slave just yesterday, now revealed as a royal heir from a powerful bloodline. He kept playing her words in his head. "I am Vareya, daughter of Veltharoon." A name that once ruled across 3 star systems, now hunted like a criminal, hiding in a cave with a human traitor. Vareya finally spoke. "You should leave me here." Her voice was calm, but her eyes looked hollow. "You don't understand how dangerous this is, Cole." He threw another stick into the fire and shook his head. "I think I do." She looked away. "If they find you helping me, you'll be executed without trial." He smirked slightly. I've been shot at before. But never for helping a princess. She gave a small, tired laugh for the first time. It sounded real. Is that how humans treat royalty? She asked. No, Cole replied. It's how we treat people who are alone. Silence settled between them, warm and heavy. After a moment, Varaya reached into her cloak and pulled something out. It was a smooth metallic disc, scratched but still glowing faintly. This, she whispered, is what they're really after. She pressed a finger on it, and a blue light shimmered in the air above, showing an image of a throne and a fleet of warships flying in formation. This is the key to Veltharoon's hidden fleet, she said quietly. Thousands of ships sleeping in secret since my great-grandmother's time. Cole's jaw clenched. So you're not just a princess. You're the last key to a lost empire. She nodded slowly. And they want to make sure I never find it. Suddenly, a soft beep echoed from the edge of the cave. Cole grabbed his scanner and frowned. A drone, circling the area, not military, but bounty grade. They had less than 10 minutes. Maybe less. We need to move, Cole said, already packing. Varaya stood and threw sand on the fire with one swift motion again. Too skilled for a slave. As they crept through a narrow rock path, Cole couldn't help asking, why didn't you run before? From the merchant who sold you? She looked at him with a sad smile. Because if I ran, someone like you would never find me. They reached the top of the ridge, and in the distance, Cole spotted a small outpost. It was old, maybe even abandoned, but it had a shuttle pad. If they could reach it, they might hack into the emergency beacon. They moved quickly, staying low, but the drone had already seen them. It zipped closer with flashing lights, scanning the area. Cole took out his old disruptor, aimed carefully, and fired. The drone sparked and fell to the sand. But now others would come. Still, it bought them time. Inside the outpost, they found dust and silence, broken screens, old maps, and rusted chairs. Varaya wiped dust from a console and pressed her hand on the glass. To Cole's surprise, the console came to life. How? He asked. She answered without looking. Royal blood activates ancient systems. The screen blinked, and a voice spoke in an old dialect. Welcome, Princess Varaya. Voice print accepted. Cole's eyes widened. She really was who she claimed to be. She turned to him and said, once this beacon is sent, they'll know I'm alive. Friends or enemies? Cole asked. Both, she replied. And we'll have to be ready for whichever comes first. Suddenly, the console screen changed, showing a face, an alien warlord with eyes like fire. His voice thundered, to all bounty hunters, increase reward for the human male assisting the fugitive princess, dead or alive. Cole stepped back slowly, looking at her. You dragged me into a royal war. Varaya's eyes softened. No, she said, I didn't drag you. You stepped in. Outside, engines roared in the sky. Ships were coming fast, heavy and armed. But this time, Cole didn't run. He stood beside her, weapon in hand, and Varaya stood tall. No longer a silent slave, but a princess ready to fight for her crown. Asterisk. The sky above the outpost burned orange as two black ships approached through the clouds. Their engines screamed like thunder, shaking the ground. Cole held his breath, hand tight on the disruptor. Beside him, Varaya stood calm, her silver hair catching the wind. She didn't look like a slave now. She looked like royalty in exile. Inside the outpost, warning lights blinked red. Multiple targets inbound, the console announced in a robotic voice. Cole turned to her. We're not ready for this. Varaya pressed the disc back into her cloak and looked him in the eye. They've been hunting me for years. Today I stopped running. The ships landed like predators, sending sand flying into the air. A squad of bounty hunters stepped out tall, armored and silent. Their helmets covered their faces, but the red lights on their chests showed one thing clearly. They were programmed to kill, Cole whispered. We should slip out the back. Varaya shook her head. If they find the beacon, they'll destroy it and the galaxy will never know I'm alive. He didn't argue instead. He activated the trap field under the outpost floor, an old human trick that sent out a short shock pulse. He waited, counting down the seconds, as the bounty hunters kicked the door open. Cole pressed the switch. A flash of white light blasted through the room. Screams echoed as half the squad dropped to their knees, weapons short-circuiting. Cole fired twice, disabling another two. But one hunter dove behind the console and fired back. The plasma bolt missed Varaya by inches. Burning through the wall, Cole pulled her down behind cover. "We're not going to last long," he muttered. Varaya closed her eyes, breathing steady. Then she reached into the wall panel and pulled out a thin black blade. "Veltharoon steel," she said. "I was trained to use it before he could stop her." She leapt forward, like a shadow herself. She moved between the bounty hunters, striking with precise, deadly skill. Cole stared in shock. This wasn't a princess in distress. This was a warrior in disguise when the last hunter dropped, breathing. But unconscious, she returned to him. Blood on her hands, fire in her eyes. "I told you," she said softly. "I'm done running." Cole quickly activated the beacon again. It sent out a signal pulse encrypted and ancient. Far in space, someone would hear it. Someone loyal to her bloodline, but it also meant more enemies would come. They left the outpost before more trouble arrived. Hiking through the night desert, guided only by the stars and the signal. Varaya walked beside him, barefoot, cloak torn, but with a fire in her steps. She's changing, Cole thought. She's remembering who she used to be. As the sun rose, they reached a hill that overlooked an abandoned spaceport. Old towers, broken ships, and half-buried landing pads filled the valley below. "If we can power one of those ships," Cole said, "we might make it to orbit." Varaya nodded, but her eyes narrowed. She could feel something watching them, suddenly. A shadow passed over them, not from the sky but from beneath. The ground trembled as a massive beast crawled out of the earth. A sand leviathan. Its eyes locked on Varaya, drawn by the royal scent encoded in her skin. Cole raised his weapon. "Seriously? Royal perfume attracts monsters too?" Varaya drew her blade, standing between Cole and the beast. She whispered something in her language, an old war chant. Then charged. The sand beast roared, its jaws wide. But Varaya spun and sliced its underbelly. Cole jumped on top of a broken cargo tower and used an old plasma cannon to distract it. Together, they drove it back, step by step. Finally, the beast hissed and disappeared back into the sands. Cole dropped beside her, panting. "I don't know who trained you," he said. "But they did a damn good job." Varaya gave him a proud, tired smile. "They trained me to die with honor," she replied. "But now, I want to live with purpose." In the silence that followed, the beacon in her cloak blinked again. A message came through, one word only: received. Help was coming, but so were more enemies. Cole looked toward the rising sun. Their journey wasn't over. They were being hunted by shadows, but now they were ready to strike back. The broken spaceport smelled like rust and fuel. Old ships lay scattered like bones of forgotten giants. Cole and Varaya stepped carefully between cracked floors and burned hulls. The message had gone out, someone had heard, but time was short. And their enemies were faster than hope. Varaya walked silently, her fingers brushing against a broken pillar. She stopped at a small stone near the ruins and bent down. With one sharp motion, she pulled something from beneath the dirt. A silver crest, shaped like two suns encircled by stars. Cole squinted. "What's that?" She held it tightly and answered, "The royal sigil of Veltharoon." He frowned. "You buried it here?" Varaya nodded. "My guardian hid it long ago, before they were all slaughtered." She pressed her thumb against the edge, and it lit up with a soft blue glow. In the distance, a deep humming echoed through the air. An ancient ship began to power on from beneath the sand. Cole stepped back in awe as the ground cracked open. A royal skimmer, sleek, silver, and half-covered in vines, rose like a ghost. From the past, Varaya stepped forward and placed the crest into a circular slot near the hatch. The ship opened slowly, recognizing the bloodline it was built for. Inside, the ship was dusty but untouched. Every control responded to her hand. Every system came alive with a heartbeat. This ship was designed for a queen, Cole said, whistling. Virea looked around, eyes soft. It was meant for my mother. She sat in the pilot's seat, and the lights dimmed to her presence. A voice from the ship's core spoke in ancient dialect. Heir confirmed. Emergency protocol reactivated. Suddenly, holograms lit up, showing nearby star systems. Virea leaned forward and scanned the signals. A blue marker pulsed far in the Voidvel Tharoon's last known fleet location. Cole leaned beside her. So we're really going after it? She nodded. It's the only way to survive. If I don't claim the fleet, they'll erase my line forever. Before they could launch, the ship's sensors beeped sharply. A bounty vessel had entered. Orbit fast, heavily armed, and already locking onto their position, Cole growled. They tracked the crest, didn't they? Virea stood, pulling a hidden weapon from the wall, an old noble's blade fused with plasma tech. Yes, she said, and they're going to regret it. Cole grabbed a pulse rifle from the ship's locker. As the engines warmed, he looked at her and asked, "Do you trust me yet?" Virea didn't smile this time. She placed her hand gently on his chest. I trusted you the moment you chose not to sell me. Outside, the bounty ship roared as it descended. Virea activated the skimmer's shields, then turned to Cole. We'll have only one chance. If we break their scanner, we can escape through the canyon. The skimmer shot forward like a silver arrow. Above them, the bounty ship opened fire, blasts raining down like thunder. Cole took control of the turret while Virea flew low, weaving between sharp rocks and narrow turns. Try not to crash your royal ship, Cole shouted. Virea smirked. Then stop distracting your princess. One of the blasts hit the wing. Sparks flying, but the shields held. Cole locked onto the scanner and fired a focused plasma burst. The enemy ship shuddered, lost its lock and spun away. They had a window to escape. With a roar, the skimmer lifted toward the sky. They broke through the cloud layer and into the stars. The stars looked different now, not just lights in the sky, but roads to power. Freedom and war. Virea sat back, staring at the fleet signal glowing on the screen. She whispered, "My people think I'm dead." Cole looked at her. "Then let's show them what royalty looks like when she comes back." She reached for his hand, not as a princess, but as someone who was tired of running alone. Their journey wasn't over. It was only just beginning, guided by a forgotten crest and the fire in their hearts. Asterisk, the royal skimmer landed hard, kicking up steam as it touched the edge of the orbital. Dock, sparks flew from the damaged wing, and warning lights flashed across the console. Cole grunted as he pulled the lever to shut the engines down. "That was the last of our fuel," he said. "We won't be flying again unless we find a core charger." Virea looked through the cracked windshield at the massive space elevator ahead. Tall and broken, the dock stretched into the clouds. It was once used for noble fleets. Now it was just a graveyard of rust and echo. But high above, past shattered glass tunnels and forgotten hangars, a human embassy still flickered with life. "If I reach the top," Virea said, "they will have no choice but to hear me." Cole nodded. "You're still royalty." "No," she said, tightening her belt. "I'm a threat to them now." Alarms echoed in the distance bounty ships. Again, they had tracked the skimmer, and this time they came prepared. Cole loaded his rifle. "They're going to land soon." Virea pulled her plasma blade from its holster. "Then let's make this count." They moved quickly through the lower decks. Wires hung like vines, walls cracked and humming with old power. Virea moved with quiet grace, her steps soft but swift. Cole followed close, checking every corner. Above them, a lift shaft still worked barely. As they stepped in, the shaft groaned, shaking as it began to rise. But halfway up, the power failed. The lift stopped in the dark. "Hanging between floors, we climb," Virea said. Grabbing the service ladder without hesitation, they climbed. Side by side, hands burning, lungs aching. Below, they heard metal clang boots on steel. The hunters were coming. Cole's heart pounded. "They're fast. So are we," Virea whispered. Suddenly, a shot rang out, plasma bolt whizzing past Cole's head. They ducked just as more shots fired upward. Virea swung off the ladder and kicked open a panel in the wall. Inside was a narrow tunnel, small but useful. "This way," she called. And Cole followed without thinking. They crawled through darkness, only small lights guiding them. The tunnel ended at a door marked Embassy Access Restricted. Cole punched the lock, but it denied him. Virea stepped forward and placed her palm on the glass. A soft voice spoke. "Genetic signature verified. Access granted." The door opened, and bright light flooded the tunnel. They stepped into a clean, untouched hallway. Golden walls, smooth tiles, and banners of the old council still hung. Virea looked at them with sadness. "They forgot us," Cole replied. "Then remind them," before they could move deeper. The bounty squad burst through the other end. 6 figures, weapons drawn, moving in tight formation. Cole pushed Virea behind a marble column. "This is it," he said. "They won't stop." This time, she looked at him and whispered, "Then we don't stop either." He grinned. "One last stand?" She nodded. "At the dock where my family once ruled." The battle was fierce. Plasma bolts lit the hall like lightning. Cole took down 2, his shots clean and controlled. Virea danced through the chaos, her blade slicing with elegance and fury. One bounty hunter tried to grab her from behind, but she twisted and drove her blade through his chest. Blood sprayed across the council flag. Cole shouted, "Left side!" And they moved together, back to back. By the time it ended, the floor was scattered with fallen armor and silent bodies. Virea dropped to one knee, breathing hard. Cole had burns on his arm, but he was still standing. The embassy doors stood just ahead, closed, but now within reach. Cole stepped forward and slammed the emergency alarm. Red lights blinked as the doors opened slowly. A team of guards raised their weapons, but stopped when they saw her. She stood tall, chin lifted, clothes torn but eyes burning with purpose. "I am Virea, rightful heir to Veltharoon," she declared, "and I claim the right of sanctuary under human treaty." The guards looked stunned. One of them tapped his cum and said, "Get the ambassador now." Cole finally let out a long breath and smiled. "You made it," he whispered. Virea turned to him and took his hand. "No," she said softly, "we made it." The human embassy's lights glowed soft white, untouched by the chaos outside. Cole sat in a medical pod, his arm wrapped in healing gel, breathing steady again, for the first time in days. There was silence, no engines, no explosions, no footsteps. Behind him, just peace, through the glass window ahead. He saw her, Virea, dressed in clean robes of dark blue and silver. Her hair was braided now, her hands unchained, her back straight as a queen. She stood before a panel of human officials and alien dignitaries, her voice calm but heavy with power. "I did not come to beg," she said. "I came to declare that Veltharoon still lives." The room fell silent, the name shaking old memories from every corner. She held up the royal crest and placed it on the table. The symbol glowed, casting twin suns on the wall behind her. Gasps filled the chamber. One ambassador leaned forward, voice cracking. "We thought your line was extinct." Virea met his gaze. It almost was. Later, she returned to the healing room, stepping in quietly. Cole sat up, half smiling. "So do I bow now?" She rolled her eyes, a hint of laughter in her voice. "Don't you dare." He studied her carefully. "You look different." She sat beside him. "I feel different." Cole tilted his head. "Princess again?" Virea shook her head. "Something more." He reached into his pocket and pulled out the old ration bar wrapper, the first one he ever offered her. "Strange," he said. "This little thing brought us here," she smiled. "That and the man who saw more than chains." A knock sounded on the door. A royal aide entered, bowed and said, "Your ship is ready, Highness. The fleet has begun to awaken." Varaya nodded, but didn't stand. Instead, she turned to Cole, eyes soft but serious. "I can't promise you safety," she said. "I know," he replied. "I can't offer you riches either. I didn't ask for any." She reached for his hand. "But I want you with me, not as a bodyguard. Not as a soldier." Cole's voice softened. "Then as what?" Varaya smiled. "As the man who reminded me I was more than a title." He didn't answer right away. He looked out the window, saw the skyships forming in orbit, the banners of Veltharoon fluttering once more. He turned back to her, took her hand fully in his, and nodded. "Then I go where you go." They walked side by side through the embassy's golden halls. No chains, no fear, no lies, only steps toward something new. The doors opened to the platform. A sleek battleship floated in the air, its name freshly painted in royal script. The Dawn of Veltharoon. As they boarded, officers bowed, but Varaya paused before the command seat. She turned to Cole and said, "You saved me before I even knew I was worth saving." He smiled. "You just needed a mirror." She stepped forward and addressed the crew. "Today," she said, "we are not running. Today we reclaim our name, our home, and our future." The ship lifted slowly, light shining from its engines like a second sunrise. Cole stood beside her on the bridge, not a slave owner, not a traitor, but the human who stood beside royalty and helped light the stars. Again, and so the galaxy watched, as a forgotten princess and a stubborn human rose together, not as master and servant, but as something far stronger, partners in destiny.